What's going on, guys? Welcome to Po Boys. This video is going to be a banger. In this video, we're going to do a whole lot of stuff to a car. My plan is to make a cheap drift car. We're going to make a twin turbo V6 Mustang drift car, and this is the process of what we did. So we've got a lot of work done today. So if you enjoyed this video, press the like button, press subscribe, show it to any of your buddies who might be interested in building a cheap drift car, because that's the goal right here, is to build the cheapest, most effective drift car that we can possibly do. All the way from the rear end, all the way to the front end, with knuckles, cut arms, and everything that we're gonna custom make. So if y'all wanna learn how to do this, feel free to go ahead and press the subscribe button for the rest of the series, so that way y'all can stay tuned on this build, because it should be done mid through the year. Here's a little teaser right here. Let's go ahead and continue and to see what we can make this car look like in just a few days. I actually worked on the car within 5 days. Complete transformation within 5 days, so it's definitely worth watching. All right, now let's go ahead and get into the video. Me and Sean drove from our hometown to Houston, which is about a 4-hour drive, and we ended up pulling up in there to get the car, and the tire was flat. So that's what we start out with. Welcome to Po Boys! Welcome to Po Boys! The internet says you can't have fun with cars for cheap, and I'm here to tell you you can. Going to buy a car for $700. Let me just show you. What? Okay, so we get here. I'll show you the car in a little bit, but then that happens. How could such a thing happen right now?
We don't know how far we were dragging it like that.
Yeah, the rim doesn't look too bad scratched up.
I literally have an impact gun with one socket on in my truck, and it just happened to be...
Dude, by the way, this car is really clean. It's a 2002 V6 Mustang. It's got 160,000 miles on it, and I ended up talking the guy down to $700. It's a manual car. There wasn't much else wrong with it other than the smell of smoke. But if you can tell, it's a clean body car. There's no dents. The paint seems to be in good condition. There's a few scratches on the back bumper, but that's normal for a car you're paying $700 for. Everything seemed to work on it, and it went through all the speeds whenever I was shifting it. So it checked out to be a good car, and I went ahead and loaded it up on the trailer. Oh, there it is. Man, that is tragic. We've been dragging that. The possibility.
Look at there. I don't know how long that tire will last, but...
Oh my God.
Dude, okay, that's not gonna happen. There's one thing that I have to say that it might really suck to say, but I think it might be better to take one of the tires off of the Mustang, put that on the Mustang, and then put the Mustang wheel there. I just feel like that would not work.
How much do you think this thing weighs?
The car,
yeah.
3,300. I'm not against the extra work because I think it might hold better through the trip home, but at the same time, I have no idea. So this guy was really generous with us. He actually had a jack and a few tools that he helped us change everything with. And when we were loading the car up on the trailer, he went ahead and helped us with everything along the way. So thank you very much to the guy that sold me the cars. We started out with a win, which was that we got the car and the car was in really good condition. So I was really happy after driving 4 hours that it was in that good a condition. I paid $700 for the car. It's really easy to find cars for under $1,000. Just look on Marketplace or Craigslist. Don't be afraid to lowball someone. Some people, obviously don't say that you want to pay $500 for a car that someone's asking $5,000 for, because that just doesn't make sense. But if someone's asking $1,000 for a car, like, sometimes they really need cash, sometimes they're in a split. You can just get in there, be like, yo, I have $500 cash. In this case, I said, hey man, I got $700 cash. I will be there tomorrow morning. I live 4 hours away. And he's like, okay, there you go. I just saved what he was normally asking, which would have been a little bit more money, but I'm saving that money, but I also had to make a 4-hour drive. So you give a little to get a little. Life is always a bargain. There's nothing set in stone about dealing with cars. So I ended up getting this car for $700, and yes, it is definitely possible, because I've actually gotten another one for $650, which is yeet.
So you do any kind of racing, or?
Yeah, we actually all do some racing. He's got a big turbo Corvette. I'm building my LS car. Obviously, this chassis just with an LS in it. It's a pretty cool little gig. By the way, here's your cash. All right, we overcame and conquered. Got the Mustang wheel on the trailer. Sir, thank you very much. We will have the most fun with this car. It's gonna be fun. If you want to watch it, you can. It's called Po Boys. And then you'll probably see some videos of us doing some slide stuff with this car, taking it drifting and whatnot.
Yeah, I'll go check the channel out.
Heck yeah. I got the spare on the car. Let me make sure this guy's in gear and parking brake on. Dope. Mustang with a key that actually works. The worst part is the trailer is the one on a spare, not me.
We have a Mustang wheel.
This is great, man. This is the start of something fabulous. Very fabulous. This is something we can do something with. Ladies and gentlemen, get prepared. All right, guys. Well, here the car is. Let's get a first walk around. If you can see, obviously it's on a spare up front, but that's because we had to take the other tire off to get that on there. But as far as condition goes, this thing's in really good condition. The back bumper has a little bit of scratch marks right there, but I think we might have something figured out. As far as the body goes, I'm looking more at dents, damage, and stuff like that. There really isn't many dents at all. This tire is flat. This headlight is really like foggy, and this headlight is brand new. I'm gonna go ahead. Last night when we were trying to pull it off the trailer, yep, she did. All right, looks like it's gonna be 10s with the battery terminals, and looks like we can also clean those guys out pretty good as well. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I got the battery out, and it looks like someone has messed with the wiring before because that is not stock. So I'm gonna figure something out there. We got that daggum ever start in there from the Walmart. Let's see if we can't get this thing to start. I wasn't even paying attention, but the inside definitely smells like cigarettes. Man, it sounds great. Power steering pump obviously makes a sound, but I mean, so it's got a clogged cat. It's a good thing we're taking those out. Everything else under here looks pretty stock. I'm trying to look for any other mods or anything that they've done. Everything looks pretty stock, honestly. Let's see what parts they gave us. Rear view mirror. Thank you for that. And here we got 3 Tootsie Rolls. Let's see if the radio works. Oh, that's on 5:30 a.m.
255.
Oh yeah, we got audio. All right, we're in business, boys. I have interior lights. What is that? Oh, daggum. Yeah, it definitely does smell like an ashtray in here. Look, it is an ashtray right there. So definitely a good candidate to get a purifier, humidifier in. There we go. Now we got key fob. That works. Gang. All you need to do is turn the ignition on. Use one hand to press this little safety switch right here, and then one hand to spin the ignition. You need to spin the ignition 8 times, and then you press this guy right here. You can get these for like $7 on eBay and program yourself for literally that easy. And just to make sure it works, there's lock, unlock. There we go. Let me show you what I'm gonna do the rest of the video. That's a cold air intake and a steering wheel and a few other things. We also need to do those trunk shocks too. This engine bay is also in great condition. Super clean, not leaking any oil or anything like that like mine was. Mine was in way worse condition than this. Dope. Since this is gonna be the drift car and Yeet is going to be the decided drag car, what I'm gonna do is put these wheels on Yeet because these are obviously better drifting wheels. All right guys, so I am going to be installing a cold air intake. If you see right here, I got some parts to install, a cheap little eBay cold air intake, just to give it a little better airflow. It's a SR Performance cold air intake, but it was super cheap. Gonna go ahead and take out this giant air intake dooley thing right there. So let's go ahead. Okay, people, I'm gonna be working, but y'all are gonna be up there because my GoPro has a little blemish in the lens. I'm gonna make sure y'all get some good quality video. So we're using the G7X, but y'all are just gonna be up there, and I'm gonna be down here. First, we get started with taking it apart. All right. Pull this off and slap this guy out. All right, so look at that restriction. That's the stock air intake, so we're gonna go ahead and fix this. Save this because this is the MAF. We're gonna need to tear into this and get the stock MAF out. So gonna pull these clips off. It's also 28 degrees outside, and this is tragic. All right, there we go. Unplug this sensor right here. Pull the plug out, and now there's gonna be 2 10s holding the MAF on. There's one. Save the bolts on these too. So now you have the whole assortment of it. Go ahead, throw these stock parts out. All right, here's the new cold air intake. So this goes like that. Pretty nice little coated pipe. And look, you see the square right here from the square piece that we took off right here. Looks like we got a perfect fit. So I think they gave me hardware for that. It might be in this right here. Yeah, there's a hardware and a gasket right there. So let's go ahead and connect all these together. Pull this off. Boop. I'm gonna pull this little plug out. Ah, golly, that's so brittle. I need to change that. Those always get brittle on these cars. Wow, that is dangerously brittle. I don't like that. I'm gonna need to replace that line. There's a big difference there, so I thought you use this step-up coupler, and I guess you just don't. You use the straight coupler, because the step-up coupler you need for the MAF. Yeah, okay, I guess that works. Holy crap. Of course that would happen. That's not good. No bueno, no bueno. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, got this. Plug that dude back in and plug that guy in. Now we're gonna have to attach the other boot. Come on. All right, now we got a cold air intake. All right, so I went ahead and put new headlights on it, if you can see. I also took the LED light out. I'm gonna put more LEDs in, but I also have to get capacitors for them, so that way they blink at the same time. Right now the blinkers blink really fast, but I just take those out so you can see. All right, so it's gonna be the first start with the cold air intake on. Let's go ahead and see what it sounds like. Oh, you could hear it. Yeah, you can hear it. We'll go ahead and let it idle and let itself learn the tune. One thing that's nice about this car is there's not a single check engine light. I do hear the pilot and throw out bearing. They are going out. They squeak whenever you depress the clutch, so those are going out and need to be changed. Hopefully the transmission isn't messed up bad from it. Let's go ahead, let this thing warm up. I'm gonna go ahead and do some work on the inside of the car now. All right, so I went ahead and moved the car because we're gonna go ahead and be installing a few different parts. But first off, let's get this terrible antenna out of the car. That's just trash. The only thing I have is FM radio. I'm gonna keep that for now, but soon we're gonna take that out because that's goober. All right, so I'm gonna install a watt box, a Hurst shifter, and a quick disconnect. Let's go ahead and get these wheel hub center caps off. Just get a little pry bar. There's a little spot in here you can. There it goes. Those lug nuts are gonna be 21s. You need special lug nuts for those, but I happen to have some. I'm gonna go ahead and untorque these on the ground. That way I don't have to spin the wheel and make sure I hold the e-brake. So make sure you untorque them on the ground before you lift it up, so that way the wheels don't spin. It just saves a lot of headache. Let's get her done. There's a flashlight. There's a flashlight. Okay, so I'm actually installing that little watt box right there. If y'all don't know what that is, you're gonna have a little surprise. So I'm gonna go ahead and wire that into a few different things in there. So let's do that. Update, we're still installing two-step stuff, making this thing gonna go rat-tat-tat-tat. Got the airbag out. Now, time to hit this thing with the hammer. Well, sometimes life gives you lemons, and you gotta give them a crowbar. There we go. All right, these clips we don't need, because those are airbags. The other one is a horn. Nope, never mind. Going to have to take the clock spring off. Hey, that wasn't even that bad. Then our G wheel, we attach. Joke's on y'all, I'm not building a drift car after all. I'm actually building an off-roader. This is my 4-link setup. It's more than most of y'all's Jeeps. I'm just kidding. What we gonna do is take out the steering rack limiters so we can get a little bit more angle of steering in here. All right, so these are the rack limiters right here. I'm gonna pull off this vent tube, which just slide it one direction and then pull it out the other side and it pops right off. And this guy should, in theory, be able to pop off. Oh boy, there we go. You can see that little piece of plastic in here I'm spinning around. That limits the steering rack from traveling too far. And we're taking that hoe out. We're gonna do it on the other side too. Now it's time to take off the front bumper. Let's test and see if this thing turns on. Hopefully it does. So I went ahead and installed a two-step on the car. I really don't know why I did, but I just figured it would be kind of cool to have two-step on a car. So I went ahead and installed it. However, it didn't work out right. They actually just sent me a new way to rewire it because it might not have been correct on the actual wiring schematic for that car. I'm gonna run power off of the fuel injectors instead of the power off of coil pack because it's not separate coils like the GTs are. It's actually a single coil pack. I ended up not soldering the connections on the watt box. Bad idea. Always solder connections on the watt box because you're dealing with 5-volt stuff and most of that stuff is really sensitive and those butt connectors are high impedance and you don't want to mess that up because you could be sending a signal that's a volt less just because of the high impedance butt connector. So go ahead and solder all the connections when you wire in a watt box to your car. If you wire in a watt box to your car, which is a wide open throttle box, which is two-step and anti-lag. No lift shifts, nitrous control box, all the above. All right, now I have everything plugged in. I rewired everything and I don't think I even had to because I accidentally left the plug up there for the fuel injectors and all that stuff unplugged. Now, if I give it gas, you can see my little blink light that blinks. And I'm pretty sure on Wattbox's website, that's how you know you got a good throttle position sensor. Been letting it idle for a little bit, so it's got oil pumping through it. Let's see if it does anything. I'm gonna have to figure it out. Oh yeah, we also put a Hurst 5-speed shifter on this dude. Nice having a shifter with a shift pattern on it. If anyone else drives it, then they get to know how to shift it and not put it in reverse going highway speeds. So after the car was running good, I got the car the previous day, did all that work that night, and then I wanted to show it to the guys. So the first person I ended up seeing at the office was Rob. So Rob got to see it. This is his reaction.
Oh my God, this is so cool.
Do you like my little whip?
Hell yeah, I love your whip, dude. Oh my God, yes. It sounds like it runs like a car.
It does. The cats are a little clogged and there's a exhaust leak. Let me pull.
I can definitely hear the exhaust.
Dude, I already have the Hurst shifter on there and the quick disconnect. Oh, you got a daily, boy. I also happen to have, you know what this box is.
Oh, I do know what that box is.
Do you like my drift car?
I thought it was blue. You now have 2 Mustangs. That's one more than me. Hey, look! With motor!
There's a leak in the radiator, but I mean, I'm gonna use my one from the other Mustang and get a Mishimoto one that cools better. Hola. It's fabulous, honestly.
Quite clean,
I put the cold air intake on it
When did you install all this stuff?
last night.
Wide box on this?
Yes, I had one in my freaking closet, so I was like, might as well put it on. The next step is to go ahead and install coilovers on this drift car. Because coilovers will lower the suspension. The stock suspension was shot and real high, so you want to lower it down, get center of gravity low, so that way the car wants to slide and stay planted instead of wanting to roll. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and pull the coilovers off of Yeet. By the way, here is Yeet for y'all that have not seen it in a long time. It is still in the same condition it was. Still have the tubular front end right there, Rock Solid Motorsports front end, and Motion Raceworks steering column. Gonna put those inside of Yeet. Still have nothing inside of there, but I'll explain to you that in a future video. Right now I'm gonna get the harness bar, harnesses, just a few other things, and we are going to install it onto the other car. Update, it's coilover time for the Mustang. I already got this first shock off and going to finish the rest of it. Got to pull out that stock spring, pull out the sway bar end link, take off the brake, and that brake line being stretched is bad. I'm about to take off that 10 right there, but I had to take the shock out first. I just took the shock out, so I figured I'd let y'all know that I did. Installing these coilovers, because these are set up for more autocross road race drift. They're kind of like universal stiff coilovers, and they're just not set up for drag racing. So I'm gonna go ahead and slap them on this car, and they should give me better control. So let's go ahead, take off that 10, and then we're gonna pry that spring out of there. There we go. Easy. Don't need a spring compressor or anything like that. Just unbolt everything and then use a little adjustable pry bar. These things are best. The suspension's unloaded, and I'm pretty sure it's still not as tall as the stock fender gap on this thing. So let's lower it down and see what it looks like with just this side down. Oh yeah, there we go. That's proper. Just a little bit of camber up front. Oh, I guess we have an issue. Oh, yeah, he's flooring it. Something's important. But either way, lower up front, that's definitely for sure. Let's go ahead and finish the rest of the car. Got that long travel Mustang going on right here. Let me tell y'all something also, whenever you do coilover installs, it's not as hard as most people think it is. I literally just got that one done in like maybe 20 minutes on that front corner, but the fronts are what take the longest. On these new Edge Mustangs, all you literally do is take this carpet out, take off that bolt right there, which is a 15, lift up by the pinch welds, and you got your shock right here that you can just unbolt, and you're gonna bolt the new one in. And there's 2 bolts right there, which would be a 15, I don't remember what the nut is. And then this right here is loose. You just take a pry bar and pry it out. Super easy to do with the wheel on. So, like I said, you can keep the wheel on this car and do rear coilovers. However, you have to take the wheel off for the front because you can't reach anything in there. But the rear you can definitely do without taking the wheel off. So that's also something that saves a lot of time. If you do it often, and if you do coilover swaps often, which I don't know why I have, but I've done a lot of coilover swaps for some reason. But that's how you make it faster and easier. Easier, faster is the best way to work. So let me finish this. All right, now we can get this shock on, but we have to take this one off first. All right, now the old suspension's out, tire's still on. Same thing to go back on, tighten it with the impact, and then go back by hand and torque it down real tight because the impact can't get as tight as it needs to get. So now I'm gonna lift the car up, then torque that down once the car's lifted up and the suspension's in the correct spot. Yeah, that's way better. Definitely worth it. Coilovers all the way around. Definitely worth it. Another thing is, by this point, I realized that the car was really smelling bad and I wanted to clean out everything inside of it. So I wanted to take out all the seats, get everything under the seats, and vacuum out the entire car. I went ahead and did that, but I was recording with my phone since my camera was dead at the time, so the audio was a little muffled, so I apologize about that. I found literally a whole man's birth certificate. All right, so I got this back seat off. I don't think this has ever been messed with by the last owner. Last owner didn't really look like he did much to it. All right, let's see what we got. Carabiner, quarter, lollipop stick, spring, and a 3/8 socket. Yeah, I'm gonna keep this carabiner because that's heavy duty. That thing's pretty thick. We're gonna continue pulling this thing apart. I actually pulled the seat out of it because this seat right here has a bad problem with not having any cushion right there, and there's just a bar, and that bar rubs on your leg, and I have a bruise right here on my rear end. So I'm gonna go ahead and change out this seat with the Corbo that I've got sitting inside the garage right there. As I'm looking through here, I see something, and something just doesn't quite fit. That's the marijuana. I gotta vacuum all this up. There's so much stuff in here, dude. I gotta vacuum all that up. All right, so now I got everything in here pretty much all taken apart and all that like dirty stuff out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and vacuum this thing one more time, and I also bring the impact with me so I can take the seat out while I'm at the vacuum place and vacuum the other side of that as well. So I'm gonna go do that real quick. I also had a spec stage 4 clutch, which is an unsprung 6-puck disc clutch, and that thing is really aggressive. And I was like, hey, build a drift car, slap it in there. So I went ahead and threw that inside there to put a new clutch on it. So let's go ahead and put a clutch on. All right, guys, so we're gonna pull the trans. I got it up on the 4-post lift, so thank you to Gavin very much. He's letting me use his 4-post. Ow! So big thanks to Gavin. It's just a 6. Y'all know who he is, and if you don't, he's up one of those directions. But let's go ahead, pull the shifter out. We're gonna pull out these 4 8s right here, and then there's gonna be some 10s for the shifter itself. Pull that out and off so we can pull the trans out without having any problems binding up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this exhaust off right here and take the exhaust bolts off up there so that way I can pull this trans without any problem. I figured out why my car has been having problems getting into gear and needing a clutch. Oh boy. So y'all have seen people pull a transmission before, so we went ahead and pulled the transmission, which really wasn't that hard. You really could just take it out yourself and drop it on the ground, but we used 2 guys, me and Daniel, pulled it out. So thank you, Zorby. Follow Zorby. So we went ahead and looked at the pilot bearing. I knew that's where the problem was coming from. Then we found out that the throwout bearing was just in 4 different pieces. How does the throwout bearing become to 4 different pieces? I don't know, but it did. Yeah.
Or this whole entire thing's not supposed to come off of it, but it did break.
No, I think it is because the whole throwout bearing slides inside. Let me get the new one. Oh yeah, no, that's definitely the throwout bearing broken half.
That's the whole thing?
That's the throwout bearing, and that's what that throwout bearing is.
The back of it.
So that whole piece broke. These are the little fins. Inside of this fork right here is where that is. I need to pull that out of the fork, and then I can get the rest off.
Oh wait, I know, I'm saying that didn't weld itself. That's actually the...
Yeah, it's supposed to be attached to it, but that was the only thing holding it.
That's the inside cone here. This has to come off somehow.
Yeah, no, you pull this fork out. That's not right. This should be on top of that, because that's how it is on my other car. I bet you the input gear on this thing is goofed. Oh wait, you got it? Sweet.
Yeah, so this just comes off.
Yep, let's check out the condition of this throwout.
Oh, I mean, it's toast because it's not supposed to be in pieces. I think it just separated.
No, seriously, that's what it was, is it separated. Wait, you want to do it like the other way?
Hang on.
Yeah.
It goes on the bottom of that.
Mm-hmm, so it has spring pressure on it.
Mm-hmm. This thing's tough to get in there.
I bet you that throwout bearing right here is actually going to be a throwout bearing instead of a squeak. Yeah.
Squeaking before?
That was dead. Yeah, it was squeaking bad. Like you could tell it was a throwout bearing problem. Yeah, it came with a stage 4 drift clutch.
Your pilot bushing?
Yeah.
Bearing?
I need to pull the clutch off and everything so I can get there then.
That's way easier than your truck was.
Yeah, way easier.
A little bit of leaking back here.
3/8s, dude. They just leak everywhere. Or just Ford products. I haven't seen one that doesn't. The new ones just haven't been around long enough to leak. There ain't much too wrong back up in there. There's an exhaust leak right here where the EGR comes back up, but that's super normal for these cars. Other than that, let's get that clutch off. This is how you pull a pilot bearing when you don't have a pilot bearing puller. All the parts stores are closed and you don't have bread or grease. So, well, you have grease, but we don't have bread. I have 2 coilover tools bolted to an engine hoist chain, strapped to a tie-down strap, 2.5, and we gonna send it. Dude, this thing is in there, son. Damn. Sometimes it's just better to do the job with the right tool. I ended up finally getting the pilot bearing pulled via, I welded a nut to a pilot bearing and then screwed a slide hammer into it and then ended up like just sliding the slide hammer and getting the nut and pilot bearing out all at once, and it went out perfect. So we slapped everything back inside and tried to turn it on, but the clutch engagement was really bad. All right, first start with this dude. Let's see if it actually turns on. Well, not first, but first start with the new clutch. Sweet. Clutch depressed, clutch in, clutch out, no weird squeaks.
Shut it off, shut it off, shut it off. Got him.
What's it doing?
Right now, like, if you can look, I'm gonna lift all the way back. So like this is all the way depressed, and then I'm gonna come all the way back, further, all the way back up. Now it's moving.
Yeah, you may just have to adjust it. I would just drive it, let it bed in, see where it settles, and then you can always do a clutch stop later if you want. So you don't have to put it all the way to the floor. It's gonna change though. Or you can honestly move the cable adjustment later on.
Yeah, I need to get an adjustable cable.
I would just drive it for right now and get some miles on it.
All right, well, let me back this thing out.
Scrape.
It got stuck on the lift because it's too low.
Good. It's stuck?
It doesn't even have enough, oh, damn. All right, so Doug's been helping me out here. We got this clutch on right here. However, the cable was too much. It's actually supposed to catch on this little thing right here. We don't have the adjustable clutch, but for some reason it wouldn't line up. So we just got a nut. We cut a 6 out of it. Yeah. Slapped it in there. It looks like it's gonna do good. We're gonna put that cover back on, and I guess we can drive off the lift now.
Basically made a longer stop so it adjusts how the throw of the clutch pedal engages.
Yeah, we don't have time to order the adjustable clutch. I'm going to order that. However, I just don't have time right now. I need to go out of town, so it definitely works in a pinch. Don't recommend it, but we do what we have to do to get things done, and that's what everyone does, so can't really judge on that. All right, guys, so I am at the garage again, and we have something else to replace. Here is a stock coil for the V6 Mustang. This coil right here is bad because under a load, these cars, whenever you give them heavy acceleration under a load, if the coil is bad and they don't have enough spark, it'll fall on its face, and then it'll rev up. However, I'm gonna replace it with the one from the other car because I'm not putting a V6 in that car anyways. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this right here, which is just some 8mm bolts, 2 plugs, and make sure you don't get any of the coils out of line. Also, another good tip is record where you put these, so that way, whenever you take and put them back, you know exactly where they came from. All right, so unplug this now. There's supposed to be a clip on it, but this one doesn't have the clip for some reason. All right, so here's the old one, here's the new one. I'm gonna go ahead and swap them real quick. All right, let's see if it turns on with this new coil. It shouldn't have any problems. Wow. Wow, okay, this thing runs way better just off of that new coil kit right there. I'm gonna go ahead, my fuel tank I need to replace because it's leaking out of the filler neck at the tank, so it's leaking. 2 days ago I filled up my tank and I drove 100 miles and now it is at E because it is just leaking out of the tank. I also have to get rid of this service engine soon light. Should just be something right here, and then I also have an airbag light because, you know, there's no more airbag. So let's go ahead and do all that. Oop. Otherwise, this thing had no codes as soon as I got it. Check fuel cap is the only thing that actually was wrong with the car beforehand. Let's see if I can do a watt pull and see if it has a misfire. Perfect, literally perfect. This car's gonna run so much better. So now we have the car running reliable. It runs good now that I have the new coil inside of there. So I was going to go ahead and try something else. There is an SCT that's married to my car, and tuning your car is like, it's like installing a cold air intake. You can't install a cold air intake on one car and then install that same exact cold air intake on another car at the same exact time without uninstalling that same cold air intake and putting it back into the other car. Then the other car can't run. So SCT does the same exact thing with their tunes. So basically you can't have one car tuned while another car has the same tune on it from the same SCT because it can only be in one place at one time. So that's what I was trying to do, is to see if I could possibly unmarry the SCT to the different ECU on the different car to see if that would work. Let's see how that went. All right, so I'm going to grab a 10 because let me explain to y'all what's going on. It's now the next day. This has been a few days of build process, as if you can't tell, but this is the ECU to Yeet, the V6 ECU. Yeet is not having a V6 anymore because a twin turbo V6 drift car is way better than a V6 twin turbo drag car. This is the ECU for Yeet. This is the SCT I tuned Yeet with. Problem is, these two are married together. I need to unmarry them. What I'm gonna do is plug this ECU into where the stock location is. Just literally unplug the 110. Just there's a little bit of trim and whatnot, and plug it in. Don't turn the car on. I don't want to mess up anything else. I literally just need to turn the ignition on just so I can get the SCT to unmarry, return to stock on this ECU. Then I'll take this ECU out, put the ECU that came out of the car back in it, and then marry the SCT to that car, and hopefully we should be on our way. So let's go ahead and get started with that process. Fingers crossed it works. In theory it should. Will it? We don't know. We'll find out. All right, so I took the stock stuff out. You have to take off this trim panel right here, which you literally just pop off, and there's a little clip in there that you just have to pull out. You have to pull out that direction, but to get under here is pretty simple. I already unplugged most of this stuff right here. Now I have to take off the 10mm bolt right there, and then from there I can replace the ECU. All right, so this is the ECU for this car, which we still need a name for, so comment the name in the description down below because I need that. And this is the ECU for Yeet. So let's go ahead, plug this into this big connector right here, and if you didn't see what I was talking about, there is the 10 right there. You can see on the back side of this big connector, and then plug everything back in, and then hopefully we can unmarry that SCT through the OBD2 port. Well, it is a direct fit, so that is a win. I'm gonna use this bolt, this deep socket 10 to screw it in just enough. All right, well, the new ECU is in, connected, everything else is connected back up. Let's see if we can't make anything work. So let's program vehicle, return to stock. It is having an error. Nope, it won't turn on. PATS is different on that ECU than this ECU. So let me see if I can't program it now. Return to stock. Well, I guess that's not gonna happen. We tried. SCT makes it to where you can't tune your own vehicle after you've tuned another one, and I can't even switch out my ECUs to unprogram it. So I'm gonna have to send this SCT off, spend about half the money I spent on the SCT itself to get it so I can tune my car. Tuning is great. SCT, they gotta make their money. Everyone's gotta make their money, which is why you should buy merch. This is Jake's merch. Buy my merch. Click down in the description below. All right, so next off, to fix off the problem that we had with the clutch that was already originally there, which was the stock cable wouldn't fit, and it was too loose or it was too tight, so we had to make a spacer for it, which was it wasn't perfect, but it had better engagement than nothing. But the definitely better thing to do is to get the right clutch cable right here. This one has an adjustment on it, so that way you can adjust with this screw right here. That is going to be replacing the stock clutch cable. I already have these 2 bolts out. There's 2 bolts right there, which are super small. There are 3/16 bolts, and there is an 8 right there that you need to catch. If you find the clutch line, you'll see it. It's attached to this bracket, which I just spun around, and the 8's bolted in there, but it's bolted to the frame over here. I'm gonna go ahead and jack this side of the car up and then unbolt it from the actual clutch itself and clutch fork, and then take it off of the pedal right here, and I'm gonna do that before I jack it up, get the whole top side off, and then when I get the bottom side off, I can go ahead and put the new bottom side in when the car's jacked up, so I don't have to jack it up twice. And I think that should be it. So I ended up getting that clutch cable installed and adjusted correctly. However, it needs to be readjusted. In fact, the car doesn't run right now, but that's gonna be the next video of this car. So, with what we did install of coilovers, a quick disconnect steering wheel, a watt box, which is 2-step, but we have to end up rewiring that, so I guess we could take that step off. We put a Corbo seat inside, complete interior clean, complete exterior clean. I ended up putting Caleb's hood from his Mustang GT that got wrecked on that car, and it looks really good. That's where the black hood came from. Cold air intake, the steering limiter delete, so now I have a little bit more steering angle. I put a new coil on it, new cold air intake, headlights, tail light, spoiler delete, a new clutch, pilot bearing, throwout bearing. Basically, we got a lot done this video, so thank y'all very much for watching. Y'all can go ahead and see what the car looks like now, because I know y'all haven't gotten a really good walk around, so this video should suffice. And stay tuned for this series, because this series really is gonna be a fast-paced, really cheap drift build. So if y'all wanna do something like this, then you can really see how much money it actually takes to do something like this. I'll end up building the whole list up and explaining price, what I've spent for everything along the way to make this thing a legit drift car. So I'm looking forward to it. Y'all, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, press the subscribe button, the like button, all the buttons. Stay tuned for the next videos, because it's gonna only turn into something better, and we're only gonna have better content of sliding, drifting, burning out, and all that fun stuff. And you bet I'm gonna take it to the track once it's twin turboed. And when I say track, I mean drift track and drag strip track. So let's look forward to it. Thank y'all for watching. Subscribe. Remember to send it.